Money in the Bank 2024 happens live tonight from Toronto, Canada. Ignore the England flag, by the way. England are playing in the Euros later, so I'm in my patriotic mood. But Money in the Bank is tonight. I'm very excited. 5-match card, which seems to have become the normal for Triple H pay-per-views. Let's not waste time. These are my official predictions for WWE Money in the Bank 2024. First of all, the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu, with Tonga Loa in their corner, will take on the mega team of Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens in a 6-man tag. So I'm going to be taking Bloodline in this one. I think it's important for the Bloodline to win. I think they need to fully establish this, dangerous team that Solo is building around him. You can to put Jacob Fatu in and have the team lose, I think would be a bit silly. So I think the Bloodline need to win, and of course I'm sure where we're going to end up is potentially Solo versus Cody at SummerSlam. Obviously they had that altercation at Clash at the Castle after Cody's match with AJ Styles. So it's obviously that I'd assume that's where they're going to go. So I think the best way to get us there is to have a Bloodline go over the baby faces in the first match. Apologies if my energy does seem a bit low today. I've quite literally just woken up and gotten out of bed, but need to get this video done because I promised you lot weekly wrestling content, and that is what I will give you. So the next match, Sami Zayn will defend his Intercontinental Championship against Bron Breakker. Now, I am going to be going for a title change here. I think Bron Breakker will win the belt. I think he's only been on the main roster for a few months, but I think let's just put the belt on him, give him that full monster push that, they're billing him as the sort of monster to be. He's a remarkable athlete. Like, the speed, I know it's sort of like it's spoken about loads, but the speed he runs the ropes is genuinely terrifying. He is a freak athlete, a good character. I didn't know he was fully capable of this sort of level of character. Not that he's had to do too much, but he's just being a generally annoyed person, and that's just working perfectly for him. And he doesn't need to do anything more than that. He doesn't need to say too much. He just needs to, be annoyed at everyone around him and just want to hurt them, basically, and that's what he does. For Sami Zayn, I think, to be honest with you, I've been slightly underwhelmed by his title run. I think, he was the person who ended the longest ever Intercontinental Championship reign, obviously, of Gunther. So I thought, we'd really kick on with Sami Zayn now and he'd have this big underdog babyface run. But I don't really think it's worked out that way. I think the feud with Chad Gable was sort of all about Chad Gable, and Sami Zayn was just, the subplot in the Alpha Academy's business. So I don't think that really helped him out too much. But yeah, I've just not been too impressed with Sami Zayn's reign, to be honest. And that's no fault of his own, obviously a remarkable wrestler, but maybe, I was wanting Chad Gable to win, and you should never want your underdog babyface champion to lose their championship. So for me, that tells me you need to know that the reign's not quite reached the levels that I thought it would, and perhaps it should have. Nonetheless, I was taking Bron Breakker to become the new Intercontinental Champion. Next up, the World Heavyweight Championship is on the line at Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins. Now, of course, there is the caveat in this match that if Priest wins, Rollins can never challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship ever again, so long as Damian Priest is champion. And if Rollins wins, then Damian Priest has to leave the Judgment Day. Now, this is probably my most... I've never got 100% on a predictions video. I think I've got one match wrong on literally every single thing, so that's annoying. But if there's going to be one I get wrong, it's going to be this one, because I'm taking neither of these people. I'm going to go for it to be a DQ or a no contest of some description, however they get to that way. I think I don't see Priest leaving the Judgment Day just yet. I think he will eventually, and I think there'll be some fallout. We've already seen a slight deterioration with his relationship with Finn Balor, and I think eventually we'll capitalise on that and it will form a full breakup of, not necessarily the entire Judgment Day, but at least part of the Judgment Day. As for Rollins, I don't really think he should eat another pin in his first match back after his little breakaway after WrestleMania. So I think the only realistic finish to this match is a DQ or a no contest. Obviously, that would leave Rollins probably saying he would want another match. Obviously, Gunther is already guaranteed the world title match at SummerSlam after he won King of the Ring. So I think potentially we're going to set up a triple threat between those three, and it's there that Priest can get his sort of proper win as the World Heavyweight Championship. He can pin Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, which will then take us to the Bash at Berlin, where we can go Gunther one-on-one with Priest, potentially Gunther winning the World Heavyweight Championship in Europe. Of course, he is a huge star in the wrestling scene across Europe. So yeah, my pick for this one is just a no contest. So we'll see how that works out. Now let's move on to the two Money in the Bank matches, starting with the women's. Io Sky versus Chelsea Green versus Lyra Valkyria versus Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi versus Zoe Stark. Now, I actually, as I said in my video last week, if you haven't watched it, I said about who I personally think should win the Money in the Bank matches, not who I think will win, as this video is, but who I think should win. Now, I think this one, as well as the men's one, are actually two really unpredictable Money in the Bank matches, which is always good. You know, you don't want these matches. The Rumble and the Royal Rumble, of course, and Money in the Bank are sort of your two star-making matches. You don't want them to be too predictable, too easy. So it's really good. I like the unpredictability of both the ladder matches on this show. For the women's match, I am going to be taking Tiffany Stratton. I think, obviously, the way her main roster life started, WWE had some big plans for her. She's sort of come off the boil a little bit over the last few months. There's been some outside of the ring things that maybe have affected that, but I think of the people involved, I think she just would suit the briefcase the best. Maybe Chelsea Green as well, but I just don't know if the WWE see Chelsea Green as a world champion material. I would absolutely love Chelsea Green to be world champion. I think she's got everything. She's good in the ring. She's a phenomenal character. She's just a great heel. But I think Tiffany Stratton, of course, an incredible athlete, former Olympian if I'm not mistaken, gymnastics I think, just an outrageously good athlete, great in the ring, got a great look, great character. She's just the total package. So I think they won't waste time on getting her fully into the title picture, and I think the Money in the Bank contract would be the perfect way to do that. And I don't see the other people in the match winning. Obviously Io Sky won last year. Naomi, Zoe Stark, I just don't see winning, to be honest with you. Lyra Valkyria has been pushed well on the main roster, but I just don't see her winning. At this one, maybe, you know, a year down the line, perhaps she could be in contention for it, but I think it's a bit too early for Lyra. Which leaves Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton. But as I said, I'm going to be taking Tiffany Stratton to be the new Miss Money in the Bank. And last, but by no means least, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Jey Uso versus Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade versus Chad Gable versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre. Again, as I said with the women's match, I think this is so unpredictable and I love it. I think of the 6 people involved, I could see a world where 4 of them win the match, which is great because that is such good unpredictability. The 2 that I don't see winning, LA Knight, I think it's quite blindingly obvious that Logan Paul is going to cost him the match, and that will set up Logan Paul versus LA Knight at SummerSlam, where perhaps we give LA Knight finally his crowning singles moment. So I think LA Knight is out of the picture. Andrade, I just don't think WWE will get behind him like that. I think he's phenomenal. He's a great wrestler, but I just don't think they'll get behind him like that. Which leaves Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, and Drew McIntyre. Jey Uso, of course, he's so over. He is so popular. But as I'll sort of combine him and Chad Gable, they're sort of intertwined with this new Wyatt storyline. Obviously, the Wyatt Six, when they debuted, they murdered Chad Gable. They shot him in the head or something, and then he, miraculously lived a week later. But so, obviously there's something going on with Chad Gable. All of the Wyatt Six were dotted around the arena the other week on Raw as Chad Gable sort of ran away from them. And Chad Gable made that comment about Jey Uso stealing the Fireflies. And that's really interesting to me. I think that could be a really good sort of way into a storyline between the Wyatt Six and Jey Uso potentially. But the other thing I was thinking about this that's just popped into my mind, obviously Chad Gable was murdered, and then a week later he won a triple threat with Braun Strowman and I can't remember who the other person was. It slipped my mind. It might have been Bronson Reed or something. The other person slipped my mind. So perhaps they could lean into this storyline where the Wyatt Six sort of, they hurt you in a way and then it heals you and it sort of pushes you on more. I'm not sure. It's an idea that's just come into my mind. Obviously, you wouldn't expect Chad Gable to win against the two behemoths that he was in with. They called it a miracle on TV, so perhaps that's a storyline they could lead into, the hurt and heal thing. Obviously, we've seen with Bray Wyatt in the past, but that's thinking for another day in another video potentially. But yeah, Jey Uso and Chad Gable, I'm going to take out of contention for that reason, which leaves the two people I think could win, Carmelo Hayes and Drew McIntyre. Obviously, Carmelo, when he started on the main roster, he was put into a main event match with Cody Rhodes, I think literally on his first night from the draft. So, big things are obviously in the future of Carmelo Hayes, but similarly with Tiffany Stratton, he's sort of come off the boil the last few months for me. He's sort of been a bit part player here and there, not really getting into something meaningful and substantial. Obviously, with Drew, the elephant in the room is always CM Punk, but I don't think CM Punk's going to return on this pay-per-view and cost Drew. I think that would be too early for the sort of attack that Drew put on him. I think that would undermine that attack if he was to return after, was it been like a week and a half, 2 weeks? So I think Drew's got a clear shot, and I think he's going to take that clear shot. I'm going to take Drew McIntyre to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. Obviously, he's been cashed in on as champion twice in the past, so this could be a nice sort of full circle thing of him being the one with the briefcase to cash in, and potentially, to fully cap off this hatred of Drew and Punk. Punk could cost Drew the world title one final time. When Drew goes to cash in Money in the Bank, Punk could cost him his briefcase, cost him that sort of guaranteed title, and then obviously that will lead to the match that we're gearing up towards, Drew versus Punk, whether that be SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, wherever it'll be, probably WrestleMania, but we'll get there eventually. So yeah, I'll be taking Drew to win the Money in the Bank ladder match, the men's one. So those are my official Money in the Bank predictions for 2024. Trish Stratus, I think, has been confirmed to be the host, so we'll see if she does anything interesting. I hope you're excited for the show. I certainly am. I'm really, really excited to see who they give the briefcases. As I said, two really unpredictable matches. Hopefully I could go 100% on my predictions for the first time. That DQ and no contest might trouble that, but we'll see what happens. Enjoy Money in the Bank. I might have said Clash at the Castle before, but enjoy Money in the Bank. My brain is still not fully working, as I said, I've just gotten out of bed. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe for more weekly wrestling content. Don't forget to leave a like, and yeah, thanks for watching.